thank you, Xavier, for being here on
My pleasure.
the Planet Health podcast. And thank you for participating today in the conference sponsored by Boehringer in the Mobile World Congress 4 years from now. Explain us a little bit what is your company about, Amelia, currently before Sius, and how did you start?
Fantastic. Yeah, my pleasure for being here with you today. My name is Xavier. I'm the founder of the company called Amelia, former Sius, as you said, and we have a virtual reality solution for mental health professionals, so they can use it with their patients. Okay, this is what we do, and yeah.
So you are basically targeting mental health, the diseases, problematics with virtual technology.
We help professionals treat patients using our technology. At the end of the day, it's easy to understand. We use a therapeutic approach called exposure, which consists on exposing patients to situations so they get used to that. And by using VR, we can simulate any situation that you can imagine.
So Xavier, you have gone through a long journey, with validations, implementing pilots. Now that you have a consolidated product, different verticals, how difficult is to scale in Europe, in America, from that point of view?
Excellent question. Although, you can notice from my accent, I'm from Europe, we are mainly scaling in the US for different reasons, but the main one being how the European market, how fragmented this market is. And not just that, it's not just fragmented, it's also that the business model or the go-to-market or the reimbursement model that you have in Europe just doesn't exist, right? So you are facing fragmented market plus a non-existing common framework for reimbursement. And that makes, for companies like mine, digital health startups, it makes it very, very difficult to really scale in Europe, right? So in our case, we started here because you can always start with innovation departments with like more or less long tails that allow you to reach some kind of size. But from that point to a very big scale up, large company, there is a gap, right? There is a gap that you need to jump. And we were not sure that we could have done this in Europe. So we moved to the US. And now we are scaling there. Again, because it's one market, because they have a very clear reimbursement structure, and it allows you to, in a very big market, more or less the same size than Europe, but that you can target just with one language, one reimbursement framework, which at the end of the day allows companies or startups to actually develop a business model, right? Which is
so basically, what it would be required in Europe is a general reimbursement mechanism across Europe. No? This is what we would need.
We can call it reimbursement, but reimbursement is a word that comes from the US model, right? But yeah, I mean, what we need to understand is this concept of a common way, a common framework to pay for digital health solutions. We can call it reimbursement, we can call it in other words. But at the end of the day, digital health startups need to have at least a clear or at least a more or less a path on how to get paid.
Potential shortcut way of doing it. We have the MDR regulation on the table. Slowly, the companies that can really be validated using that regulation, in theory, the directors of innovation in hospitals, IT directors, medical doctors could really already implement it without going into a pilot, into a study. No, the question is. But the problem is that hospital by hospital doing that could help with initial traction, but it's again the escalation.
Correct, which is not a scalable. And on one side you said the MDR regulatory framework, which is the top CE mark, whatever. And the other one, the validation that you need to convince every single hospital that they have in place, right? So actually you need to do both, right? So you need to invest in both. And not just that, again, you need to invest on the CE mark, medical device regulatory framework, on the validation for the hospital. But what's the end goal? Who's going to pay for all of this investment that we've done as a digital health startup, right? Because we don't know the reimbursement, the go-to-market, the business model that we are going to have at the end. To invest today on this regulatory aspect today is extremely risky, because how you are going to get paid, how you are going to get your return of investment at the end of the day. Today in Europe,
Yeah.
No one has a clue.
Yeah, it's a pity, and we hope we can really disseminate your example. As a successful startup, European one, we want to make these startups grow, scale, that there has no other option than going to the States. And I really believe we are Europeans, we need to grow the Europe market and create this ecosystem. Just a final question. We are in the Planet Health podcast. We talked during the conference, the planetary health. Actually, there is some already anxiety disorders for young people, no? Regarding the anxiety to be confronted with the potential harm on the planet.
Correct. Correct.
Maybe there could be some potentialities for.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Honestly,
hopefully
not. So we are smart enough to solve the problem before that creates like a pandemic or
anxiety.
a big problem. But yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to. I mean, as you said on your presentation, right? It's healthcare, but it needs to be sustainable healthcare.
Yeah.
Right? Completely. Yeah. Those are two top priorities that I think we should have in our top of our minds.
Thank you, Xavier, for being a good entrepreneur, making a role model for others, and go to the States, come back, and scale in Europe also. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me today.